guys, it's your coach Eero here. So you may have noticed from our approach to training, like how much we really try to emphasize this sustainable development. So I'm always talking about, trying to avoid injuries, trying to train yourself in a smart way, in a way that respects the body and in a way that really focuses on this body as opposed to focusing on the weights and all of that stuff. And that's something that did not came just like that. We had a really long process over which we encountered certain things, certain realities of life, certain realities of training and of our bodies that led us to make that huge turning point where we realized that we need to change our way of training, and that there is even a way of training where you can build yourself up to a really high level. You can build yourself up with these different attributes. You can develop strength, you can develop the performance, the speed, the power, you can develop mobility, you can really become strong and enduring and not destroy your body in the process. But before that, it didn't exist. Then it was like, if I want to really become really strong, it's like those methods are gonna break me in the long run, right? And even nowadays, it's still extremely prevalent for many people to train in a manner where they get something in return, they get some results in return, while at the same time the training is taken away from them. The training is giving them results, but it's also taken away from their body, it's taken away from their health, from the health of their joints, and it's causing them pain and discomfort and pinching and injuries eventually in the body. And there's these approaches which are extremely, for example, simplistic, like focusing on maybe five or 10 exercises and thinking that these exercises will develop the body to its full functionality in an optimal manner. It really still blows my mind that people really believe in this stuff. But I understand really what it's about, or I understand where it comes from. Because if you train in a very simplistic manner, say you have your bench, deadlift, squat, overhead press, like a power clean maybe or something like that, and this is what you focus on, it tells about the way you see your body. It tells that you have in your mind, you've reduced the body into this entity that is not capable of doing much more than these movements. And the way you think, the way you conceptualize, the way you perceive your body, that also will reflect in your training what you're doing then as well. So it will show in your training, and you're treating your body in this manner, and the way you see your body will set the direction of your development, sets your training, and that sets the potential that you can even reach with your body. And so people have a very narrow idea of what their body is supposed to be doing. And in these kind of approaches, which are very narrow-minded, where they think that they will reach extremely high performance with this simplistic approach, it's not all that it's all bad, it's all wrong, or that these exercises are bad. What people don't realize that there is no such thing as the great best exercise. Because many people still have this idea that, give me the best exercises so I can get the best results. But the best exercise is the one that you can do properly. The exercise in itself is really nothing. It's all about how you're able, what is the approach that you are putting into that exercise? How are you doing that exercise? Because you can have the amazing exercise that works for me very well and I give it to you, and you do that exercise in a poor manner and you won't get that good results from it. So it's not only that the exercises that I said, these basic exercises are good, and usually in the start, you don't want to make your training too complicated. You can get great results with fairly simple exercises, sticking to just a few exercises, mastering those well, and it's fine. But in the long term, that's not going to develop your body in the most balanced manner. And it's not only that, as I said, is that people are doing this exercise, but they also do them in a crude form a lot of the times. Now you can say to me okay, there are people, there are powerlifters and guys who do 5x5 lifting style that do them with quite good quality, and that's true. There's definitely guys who also do more simplistic training in quite a good quality manner, but that still doesn't make the rule. There's usually exceptions, And most people who do this, most people who follow this kind of approach, they don't do it in a good manner. They don't utilize quality in it at all. And you might also be like, well, you know, if like, why am I bothering you? If your passion is to always, for example, lift heavy and do this very simple training, why am I bothering you? And I'm not trying to change you, but I'm talking to the people here who have already noticed in the training to a simplistic manner, training only lifting heavy or trying to lift always heavier and heavier, and they notice that it causes problems the same way like I noticed. These are the people I'm already talking to who want to have another perspective, who want to gain another idea of training, something that actually builds them up and keeps them also healthy in the process. So doing this very simplistic way of training, only some like few exercises, thinking that that's enough, like squat, deadlift or something for the lower body, and people even do those exercises in a very crude way. So what I mean by crude exercise is basically an exercise you do without methodology. You do an exercise without consciousness. You do the exercise without understanding body mechanics. You do it without having body awareness, and you might have a very vague idea of the correct external form that you're trying to imitate. That's the crude exercise, because it's not that doing exercises all like even. We have different levels. We have the crude exercise, which is here in the lower. You're doing that training without really any sort of consciousness, and it's not guaranteed that you're going to get great results. It's not guaranteed that you're going to even stay healthy. You might even hurt yourself. Going from higher point from that on, from the crude exercise, we have the refined way of doing exercising, refined way of training. And that's something that we do in Athlete 20XX. And this is where we're developing that mind-muscle connection. We're developing body awareness, and we're doing things with intention. So we're actually learning what do these exercises do to you. It might be the first time in your life that you actually learn what this exercise, different exercise that you've been maybe doing for years, how do they actually develop your body? What is the impact in your muscles? What kind of stimulus do they give to your body? And this is an incredibly empowering way of training. Or when I went to this phase, I gained so much power over my own development because I started to actually be able to apply these principles and knowledge to develop myself, and I was no longer dependent on this sort of only outside instructions and only on external goals. Because there are these like false ideals of training where you're worshipping the weights, you're worshipping the image of strength where the strong is someone where you can only like do a heavy lifting. And this is the kind of ego that is in the way, and it's trying to tell you how you should be training. It will reduce your training a lot. It will restrict your training in a huge amount. So starting to gain a deeper understanding of your body and how to develop it empowers you, because it gives you back the responsibility for you. And it gives you multiple methods how you can train your body in so many countless of different ways, and in ways that do not force you to break yourself. That's quite the contrary. Our approach always to training is the prevention of injuries. Your strength training and all of your strength training in the side and mobility training should be something that prevents injuries and doesn't cause them. If you're doing like a sport or something like skill training, that already has enough risk to break your body or cause some injuries. So our regular strength training should not be risky. It should be preventive, and it can even fix injuries and pains from the body. So that's the crude exercise, no methodology really, only external vague understanding of the correct form. You're not feeling your body, there's no safety mechanism, there's no feedback from your body. Are you really doing it supported? You go to a refined form where you actually have methods, you have principles that you're utilizing, and you have awareness, and you have the intention. You know what you're training with that. And you can manipulate the training, the form, based on what you want to develop with that exercise. So every exercise can be used to develop multiple things in the body. Even a squat, you can vary the squatting pattern, the width of the squat, the length of the tempo of the squat, the trajectory of the squat. You can manipulate so many different ways in squat. to develop different and emphasize different parts of your legs, as opposed to doing this only one way of squatting, which usually is set so that you can just lift the maximal amount of weight. And when you're putting that as the highest, you will always choose just one pattern where you are the strongest. And many people that think that, you know, they are strong because they are avoiding their weaknesses and they're avoiding to face their weaknesses. So I'm strong because I just I look away from my weaknesses. And this is how they think that they're strong. But that's not really the way. You need to be able to also face the weaker areas in your body and train those as well to become really complete. So from the crude exercise to the refined exercise, we can go to the more enlightened exercise. And this is what I call is methodology without methodology. And this is when all of these things that you have been training in this previous, for example, phase, when you're trying to refine your training, they become more instinctive. They are already there. You don't need to constantly focus on thinking something in your head of this or that form. It's already there. You really feel your body, and you can kind of let go of very strict ideas. And you can go even back to, sometimes you kind of go back to the beginning. You do stuff that you did a long while ago, and you approach it with a totally new body. Your body is already completely new. Your nervous system is completely new. The mind-muscle connection, everything is there. So this is a kind of phase where it's only the way to go to that refined stage, like athlete to next. That's the way to reach that sort of level. Okay, it's the way to go to the level where things become more and more instinctive. Your awareness, your body awareness, and everything. Your connection to the body, it's just like it's there automatically. It doesn't matter which exercise you do, what exercise you do, how you do that exercise, it's always there. You have it there. Like you build it over the years to be able to sense your body in a good manner. You know what are the stimuluses that you're causing to your body. You can really apply and adjust a lot in this kind of phase when you go to this, and it becomes very free in a way, free in execution also. So this is a kind of a way that we can categorize, because as I said, I started the video that the exercises are not equal. It's about how you do them. There is no such thing as the perfect or the best exercise. It's all about the methodology and the principles and the quality that you apply in it. And the results that you gain from an exercise are completely dependent on this. If you're worshipping the weight, then the weight will always kind of rule over, and it will set the form of the exercise to a very particular way, which develops your body and usually in a very narrow pattern. If you start to respect your body and the variability that gives and the different possibilities are there, and you see your body as a bigger, in a much bigger scale, you see much more possibilities from your body. You see your body as not as this reduced entity, but in its full potential of all these different possibilities. You can move your body. That will lead to a very different type of approach on how you use the exercise. And both of these will lead to completely different results in your training. So my advice here is to get away from this crude level of training where so many people are. They've given all of their power and responsibility to worshipping the forced ideals of the training, and basically to these examples. You know, you're only watching like that outside form and thinking this is the correct form because it says something, but you don't have any internal standards of what the good form consists of. So stepping away from that crude exercise to refined exercise, that's the first step that you have to do. And this is also the big change that I also did during my training journey. It started to unlock so many incredible results in my body. It healed my body also in the long term. It developed strong strength in my body, extremely well-rounded strength and balanced and structurally balanced strength. It made me able to perform in the sports like MMA without hurting myself. And it's been the way to really open up a whole new world of training. So going to this refined stage like we do in Athlete to NXX, where we really go extremely deep in this method, that is the way to liberate yourself, to empower yourself in training, and to find the way of training where you can reach an extremely high level, but without causing or wreaking havoc in your body during those years. That's not the the price that you want to pay. You know, we have a long life, and I want to stay as healthy as I can and as pain-free as I can while still reaching for the stars. So that's what we are doing in Athlete 20XX. So we just added a whole new online course to the existing Athlete 20X program, because previously that was a workout program. I showed, you know, already the principles there in those tutorials, but I didn't go in detail to them. I didn't explain the methodology really through and through. So now we've added a whole huge section, like hours of material, where I actually introduce you to the details of our approach, and I teach you the mind-muscle connection. I teach you about stability, about mobility. I teach you the methodology. I actually introduce you also to these turning points that I've had and to the journey that I went through. I walk you through my whole journey, how I actually ended up, or how we ended up developing these methods, how we came to them, what kind of results they have given. And there's multiple lessons where I'm really explaining this whole approach in detail, and this will give you much better understanding also of the already very working workouts that are there. So there have been the workouts have been there already, which have produced great results, but this is a way to get much deeper into those as well and understand the real methods and real value that this kind of training truly gives. So that's the new big addition to Athlete 20XX. You have the workouts there, but now you also have the methodology that is behind it, and that really makes everything work on a better and higher level as well. So if you have these pains in your body, you know, they'll be maybe increasing over the years, different tightnesses and aches pop up here and there in the shoulder or the lower back or your hip or your knee or your neck. You know, these kind of issues, like waking up in the morning in pain, they're not gonna go away by themselves, and your accessory training will not make them go away. It will not fix them if your primary training is causing them. This is what people refuse to see, is that it's their primary training that is the cause of all these pains and possible injuries that they have. So like, how long are you gonna keep going on this path that caused these problems in the first place? And if you're gonna keep on going in this path, eventually or ultimately it's gonna lead to you plateauing in your progress, possibly getting a severe injury, need to stop your training, and eventually even losing all your hard worked gains.